Be honest. You say you're waiting for the right time, the right words, the perfect angle, but you're not. You're stalling, you're avoiding, you're dressing fear in the language of preparation. And Nietzsche, he would see through it instantly. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about control, about protecting the fragile ego from the unbearable sting of failure. You don't want it to be perfect. You want to be invulnerable. But perfection is a lie. It's a cage. It is the holy grail of cowards, beautiful, distant, unreachable, so you never have to try. This is your wake-up call. You're not a perfectionist. You're just scared. And that fear, it's costing you your life. Be honest. You say you're waiting for the right time, the right words, the perfect angle, but you're not. You're stalling, you're avoiding, you're dressing fear in the language of preparation. And Nietzsche, he would see through it instantly. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about control, about protecting the fragile ego from the unbearable sting of failure. You don't want it to be perfect, you want to be invulnerable, but perfection is a lie. It's a cage. It is the holy grail of cowards, beautiful, distant, unreachable, so you never have to try. This is your wake-up call. You're not a perfectionist, you're just scared. And that fear, it's costing you your life. When high standards become self-sabotage, you tell yourself you're just holding out for excellence, that you won't settle for anything less than your best. That greatness takes time, precision, patience. But Nietzsche would ask, is that really true? Or are you just afraid to be seen in progress? High standards are admirable until they become a cage, until they stop serving truth and start serving your ego. You're not editing for clarity, you're editing to avoid vulnerability. You're not revising for quality. You're revising because you can't bear the thought of being average. And in that spiral, your so-called standards become weapons, not against mediocrity, but against your own expression. Your voice is not too raw, your work is not too early, your truth is not too rough, it is simply real. And sometimes real is what the world needs more than polished. Nietzsche and the trap of idealism. Nietzsche despised the idealist, not the visionary, but the one who hides behind impossible ideals to avoid responsibility for action. The one who says, I would create if only the conditions were right. This is the trap. Idealism becomes your escape hatch. You wait for the perfect inspiration, the perfect mood, the perfect platform, but none of that is coming because perfection is not a condition. It is an avoidance mechanism. You are not waiting for the ideal moment. You are refusing the imperfect one, the only one that exists. And Nietzsche would tell you, this is not art. This is avoidance. Stop bowing to ideals, rise into reality, and create something real. Shame, dressed as artistic integrity. There is a hidden shame beneath your perfectionism. The shame of being ordinary, the shame of getting it wrong, the shame of being misunderstood. But instead of confronting that shame, you dress it up as integrity. You say you're just taking your craft seriously, that you care too much to publish something flawed, that real art demands more. But the truth is, you don't trust yourself to be seen. You fear what they'll say. You fear what they won't say. You fear the silence between the launch and the response. Nietzsche warned us about this, how the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves in the name of virtue. So here's the challenge. Take off the mask. Let your art be messy. Let your truth be rough. Let your integrity come not from hiding, but from honest exposure. That is real courage. The eternal postponement of action tomorrow, next week, later. These are the gods of the perfectionist, always promised, never delivered. You say you'll begin when it feels right, but it never does. You say you'll finish when it's perfect, but it never will be. Nietzsche would call this the sickness of the modern spirit, eternal postponement disguised as preparation. You're not building something, you're stalling from having to release it. You've made potential your identity, and real action threatens that. Because once you act, you're no longer the brilliant mind with a plan. You are just human, vulnerable, exposed. But here is the bitter truth. Postponement does not protect you. It rots you. It kills your urgency. It numbs your fire. It seduces you into believing you have time. You don't. So release the thing. Say the words. Make it public, even if it's unfinished. because the alternative is watching your life pass while you perfect something that never breathes. How culture trains you to avoid risk. From the moment you could speak, you were taught to obey, not to explore. Raise your hand, wait your turn, follow the rubric. Don't mess up, don't fall down, don't draw outside the lines. Nietzsche called this the morality of the herd, a system designed not to elevate the individual, but to domesticate them. So you learned to play small. You began to associate risk with shame, innovation with isolation, authenticity with danger. And now, every time you want to create something bold, a voice inside whispers, "But what if you fail?" That voice is not your truth. It's your programming. It's the echo of a system built to reward the quiet, the polite, the safe. And Nietzsche would say, if you want to be free, you must unlearn everything they taught you about failure. The ego's addiction to applause. You don't just fear failure, you crave validation. You want the applause, the likes, the praise, the confirmation that your work, that you are good enough. And so you don't create what's true, you create what's acceptable. You start shaping your expression around approval. You edit your voice to fit trends. You adjust your truth to avoid conflict. Nietzsche saw this as spiritual poverty, the shrinking of the soul to fit inside another's expectations. You are not an artist. You are a performer, a mimic. And as long as your ego feeds on applause, you will never take the risks that create real art, the kind that offends, that exposes, that breaks something open. The need for applause is the death of originality, and you must choose. Do you want to be loved or liberated? Rejection and the herd instinct. You think your fear of failure is personal. It's not. It's tribal. Evolution trained you to fear rejection because being cast out once meant death. Nietzsche understood this instinct, the herd instinct, the need to belong, the terror of standing alone. That fear is still in your body. It's what stops your hand before you click publish. It's what makes you rewrite the truth until it's pleasing. It's what keeps you silent in a room full of noise. But here's the truth. You cannot create something bold and stay in the middle. You cannot honor your vision and keep everyone comfortable. You cannot be original and obedient. At some point, the herd will turn. The question is, will you follow or will you lead? Mediocrity as a collective. Comfort. Mediocrity doesn't just survive, it thrives. It's cozy, familiar, praised. You scroll through it, you wear it, you speak it in meetings, you serve it on stages, and no one flinches because mediocrity feels safe. But Nietzsche would call this the slow death of the spirit. A culture obsessed with perfection is not producing excellence, it's producing numbness. Because when everyone is too afraid to fail, no one dares to try. You end up surrounded by polished nothingness, perfect smiles, safe words, hollow art. And in that silence, the wild ones go mad, or they rise. You must decide, will you be loved for your polish, or will you be remembered for your realness? The world is not dying for perfection, it is starving for truth. The beauty of incomplete truths. You want to say it perfectly, write it perfectly, live it perfectly. But Nietzsche would stop you and ask, why? Truth is not static, it is alive, it evolves. It contradicts itself. It breathes through time, broken and brilliant. To speak your truth does not mean to be accurate. It means to be honest, even if you change tomorrow, even if you outgrow it, even if it's messy. Perfection demands you freeze your expression, but Nietzsche demands you let it flow, raw, flawed, incomplete, because it is not your final form that matters. It is the movement toward it. Becoming is beautiful because it's unfinished. Becoming real instead of being right. You've been taught to be right, to have the facts, the evidence, the credentials, to speak only when sure, to polish your truth until it offends no one. But Nietzsche didn't care about being right. He cared about being real. To be real is to speak before the echo, to act before the applause, to trust that your truth matters, even if no one agrees. Rightness is safe. Realness is alive. You do not need to be correct to be courageous. You need only to stand in your experience and say, "This is mine, and I offer it, flawed and whole as I am." And in doing so, you become. Acting without guarantees. You want certainty. You want to know that what you're about to do will succeed, that your book will sell, that your voice will be heard, that your leap will land. But Nietzsche offers no such comfort. He says, leap anyway, because the only guarantee is this: not acting will kill your spirit far more certainly than any failure ever could. Waiting for safety is waiting for the impossible. The moment will never feel perfect. The path will never be clear. You must step into the fog. You must build as you walk. You must write the line before you know where the story ends. That is the ethic of becoming. You do not wait until you are ready. You risk until you are real. Creation as rebellion against perfection. Every time you create something unfinished, you rebel. Every time you publish the post you're not sure about. Every time you speak the idea that still feels raw. Every time you say yes before the fear has time to scream no. You revolt against the system that told you to wait, polish, shrink, obey. Nietzsche believed in creation not as decoration, but as defiance. As the act of saying, "I exist and I do not need your approval to do so." In a world obsessed with perfection, your imperfect action is revolutionary. You are not here to impress. You are here to express. And through that expression, unfinished, unfiltered, unstoppable, you begin to taste freedom. The freedom of being seen flawed. Imagine it. You say the thing, and it's not perfect. You make the video, and your voice shakes. You launch the idea, and not everyone gets it. But you are seen. Not the mask. You. There is terror in that, but also freedom. Nietzsche knew that the deepest fear is not death, it's exposure. To be revealed without armor, to let the world witness your cracks and keep standing anyway. But in that vulnerability lies your power. Perfection protects you from judgment, but it also isolates you. When you let people see the real you, messy, human, evolving, they connect, they trust, they feel invited. Let it be flawed, let it be free. Let it be yours, because truth unpolished is more powerful than any flawless lie. Courage over aesthetics. You've been trained to think beautiful means perfect, but beauty without courage is just decoration. Nietzsche didn't care for clean edges. He cared for raw force. He wanted words that moved, not words that pleased. You don't need better lighting. You don't need a perfect sentence. You need nerve. You need the courage to release the imperfect thing, to trust that your voice has value even when it's trembling. You are not a brand, you are a becoming. So choose courage, not polish. Let your art sweat. Let your truth stutter. Let your message crack open, even if the world isn't ready, because you are. The art of doing it anyway. You will never feel ready. Never feel sure, never feel safe, and that's okay, because greatness does not begin with confidence. It begins with defiance. Defiance of the fear, defiance of the shame, defiance of the voice that says, wait, perfect it, delay it, do it anyway, launch it unfinished, say it unfiltered, show up underprepared. That's the art, not just of expression, but of liberation. To do it anyway is to say, I no longer serve fear, I serve truth, and that is unstoppable. Start before you're ready. This is not the end, it's ignition. If this message burned something in you, good. Let it burn the lie of perfection to ash. Let it torch your excuses. Let it light the next step. You don't need more research. You don't need more polish. You don't need more time. You need to start today, now, before you're ready, because readiness is a cage, and truth is a flame that will not wait forever. So go, say the thing, share the work, begin the book, film the scene, record the voice note. Let it be ugly. Let it be real, let it be free. And if you want more of this kind of truth, if you want to keep tearing down the lies that keep you small, then keep watching, keep writing, keep becoming. The perfectionist dies here, the creator is born.